Drea.
Drea O.
Drea O.
Drea O.
Drea O. Drea O.
I'm from Chicago, and
My name is Dedra Morris, always known as Mama Capone, and my son was L.A. Capone.
so thank you so much for joining us, Mama Capone. I know this is your first roundtable with the mothers, so talk to me a little bit about why you decided to join the Mothers of Peace movement.
Sheena came to my event that I had, Mama Duck, for Mother's Day, so I felt like I wanted to come and be a part of this as well.
What were your thoughts on the first edition of the Mothers Roundtable?
I didn't look at it, but the first time y'all called, it was kind of like caught me off guard. It was like last minute, and then I was wondering like, okay, I don't know if I want to do that. I need somebody else to come from my side, from one of my son's friends' mothers, but it was last minute, so I don't know. I didn't do it, but I'm here now. So
Talk to me about your son, the legacy of your son. What was he like growing up?
he was a smart boy. He knew how to read like chapter books at 4 years old. He was an honor student. He was athletic, silly, and he was a spoiled brat because he was my only son. So he was like the king of my house, like my everything.
So what was he like as a teenager? I guess around the time that he started to do music.
He had been rapping since like 5 years old, like just playing around with it, but he got serious about it in the teenage years. And at first I was like, oh, you want to be a rapper, okay, whatever. I wasn't really into it until I started seeing he was serious about it. So then I kind of like got on board with it. But the stuff that he did outside, like I wasn't really in tune with how serious it was, the magnitude of it at first.
When did you discover the popularity of your son and the way that he was impacting the culture?
When I first heard 600, when I heard it, I was like, oh yeah, he for real. He for real about this. Like, I remember it was August 2012, and it was my sister. She was having a luau, and she played it for the first time. And I was like, okay, he for real. Like, he got some talent. All right, okay. And yeah, that's when I really started like really getting into it and like listening and paying more attention to what he was really doing.
Did you have any idea about like his outside dealings with his friends and
No. At home, he was a nice, respectable boy. He went to school. I took him to school every morning. I picked him up every afternoon. And what he did outside the house, I wasn't aware of, I didn't know. Like, his friends didn't even come to our house at first. He never brought them home. People didn't even know where we lived at.
So talk to me about the day that you lost your son. What was going on that day from the morning to the time you got the phone call?
Morning, he had court. He was with his friends. They was in a stolen car or something, so he was going to court for that they was about to sentence him to probation that day. And my daughter had like a conference at school, so he went to court with his friend and his mother, and I took my daughter to the conference or whatever. So I talked to him at the court, and he told me what happened, and I went on about my day. I went downtown. He went to the studio as usual, but he went early in the daytime. He went, and I didn't see him anymore. I talked to him a couple of times, and then he went to another studio session where he was, shot at when he was coming out of there. But I really didn't see him a lot. I remember what he had on and everything. I remember us talking and him asking me, Mom, how you feel about moving to Atlanta. And I was like, son, I'll go. You know, like, I'll go anywhere you want me to go. We can always come back to Chicago. I didn't have a problem with that if that's what he wanted to do to better his career. He said that Grand Hustle was looking at him, and another label was looking at him, and he was supposed to have a meeting. And I didn't talk to him no more. Then I was in the house, me and my daughter, and she told me she was hungry, and we walked to the restaurant. This restaurant, I've never been there before. It was my first time going there. We walked, and as we got to 71st Street, I looked to the left. I saw police sirens, you know, like, and I'm like, man, something happened down there on Stony Island. I looked to the right, it's sirens down there. Something happened down there. I said, Dad, somebody gonna got shot on both ends. But not thinking nothing of it, you know, got her cheese fries. We went back home. When I had left my phone, and when I got back home, I had like 7 missed calls from my friend. And she called, I called her back. She told me that somebody had called her and told her that he had been shot and to call me. But he was alert, you know, he was woke or whatever. So I'm like, okay, well, I didn't feel nervous or anything. I just got in my car and went to the hospital or whatever. And I got there, and I still didn't feel nervous. So I didn't feel, you know, like, I didn't feel nervous at that point. I just was waiting or whatever. And I said, okay, well, my mama was there. She wanted to go play the lottery. She's a lottery person. So I said, okay, come on, we're going to go play the lottery. We leaving out, Lil Durk, all them, they was coming in. And we walked to the 7-Eleven, played the lottery, came back, went upstairs to where everybody was at waiting. Then I started like seeing police coming. He had been shot prior, the year before. No police, no nothing. This time it was like police in suits and all that. So it started making me feel like something, like a worry inside of me. I said, well, my niece was there. She wanted some donuts or something. I said, I'm going to go downstairs and get her some donuts. And then I remember going down to get the donuts. And then I was at the elevator. And I heard my mother. Like, I heard my mother yelling from the 5th floor. I heard a scream, like a loud screech. I'll never forget it. Like, she was hollering to the top of her lungs. And I was just like saying to myself, like, oh my God, you know, like, oh my God, I know what the fuck, what that meant, you know. And when I got up there, they was just all over the floor, screaming, hollering, and they said that he was, he had died. And it just like, I don't know, it did something to me. It just like made me shut completely down. They were all up there screaming, hollering, crying. I just got back on the elevator and I went back downstairs, because I didn't know how to like process it. I couldn't process it in my head. Like, I know it happened, but I just didn't want to face it or realize it, accept it. And I stayed downstairs for a long time. And then when I finally came back up, they told me that I couldn't see him. They said I couldn't see him because his mother had already seen him. And I'm like, I'm his mother. But my mother had went in my immediate family. And it was so many people, like 200 people, it seemed like, was there. And they told me if I can get all those people to leave, they'll let me see him. And I just started pushing them and telling them they gotta go. Y'all gotta get out of here. I need to see my boy. Like, I need to see my son. So they left, and they finally let me see him. And it's just like, to see your kid like that, that's a whole nother, man, it's something that you'll never forget. And then being a mother, I always think about it, like, he had these dried up tears in his face, like he was crying, and I just can't think of nothing but he was crying for me. Like, he wanted his mama. Every kid wants their mama when something going on with them, you know. That's your first thought is, oh my God, I want my mama. And that I just couldn't think of nothing else but that. I saw him that I couldn't touch him. They said don't touch him, just the head, from the head up. So I asked them to give me some scissors, and they let me cut a dread out of his hair, because I was like, okay, maybe one day somebody might say they had a baby or anything, and I needed some of his DNA. So I took a couple of them and put them in a bag, and I left. But he looked asleep, but he looked like he had been crying. And it fucked me up. I ain't gonna lie. It did. It did something to me. It's just something that I would never forget. You know, it's like the internet is like a blessing and a curse at the same time. Because I look on there sometime and I see videos of him and he's smiling and he laughing and I hear him talking and it make me feel like, oh, he just outside. You know, and he'll be back, you know, but then that don't never happen. So it make me feel good, but it make me feel bad. And then it's like when I look and I'm flicking through and I see his friends and they life, they going on with their life. Some of them millionaires now. You know, it make me feel like, damn, why that happened to my son? You know, why my boy? These people out, they living their lives, they having babies, they got driver's license. Like, he never got a chance to do none of that. He didn't even have a state ID. He was a baby. You know, in his senior year of high school. He hadn't even started really living his life. So, I love the fact that people are still on the internet, and every day, I see it in my timeline, every day, all day long, something of my son. Or if I post a picture of him, so many people leave so many comments. You know, that's a wonderful thing. I love that, and the love is from everywhere. It's like Africa, Australia, Switzerland, fucking New York. Everywhere, all over the globe, I get people buying shirts from me because they just want to be a part of that, you know. So that make me happy, you know.
What do you want the world to know about your son, and what would you like people to gather from this movement of the mothers coming together?
All of us as mothers, we all going through the same thing. Like, we all got the same pain, no matter what gang your son was in, what gang, you know, all of this. And that's why I just want to do something different. I'm trying to make a change. I'm actually I'm doing a trip. I just got 2 school buses, and me and my friend, we both we paid for 88 kids to go to Six Flags on, like, the next 2 weeks. We'll be going to, and we trying to get kids from different areas. I want these kids to know, just because you live over here and you live over here, that don't mean you got to be enemies because your parents saying that this is they up. It ain't got to be like that, you know. Like, I don't want that. I don't like the idea of me. I'm a middle-aged woman. Like, I have to worry about where I go or what neighborhood I'm in because who my son is. I'm not in a gang. I'm not a gangbanger, you know. Like, so I shouldn't have to worry about that, and none of us other mothers should have to worry about that either, you know. It's messed up, but it's life. You gotta be aware of your surroundings, and you ain't got nothing to do with nothing. You know, I have people in my comments sometimes when I post pictures of my kids, my little girl. Oh, we'll knock her ass out. You know, like that type of stuff. She a baby. She ain't in the gang. She ain't got nothing to do with nothing. And it be those people, they ain't got nothing to do with none of this. They don't even live in Chicago. Probably ain't even never stepped foot in Chicago. And they keeping up all the BS. Like, I feel like they got us like we a show. Like, we are a show to people, to the world. They think this is a joke, but this our life. This is what we live in, you know. And it's not cool. But yeah, so I just want to do something different and try to make a change. So I'm with the movement, trying to make a difference. We warrior moms. That's what we call ourselves.